Hello, everyone. I'm Selena Hill, the digital editor at Black Enterprise. And today I'm super happy to speak with journalist, MSNBC political analyst, and TV anchor Joy Reid, who will be the first Black woman to anchor a primetime news show on cable TV. Congratulations on making history, Joy. How does that feel?
Thank you so much, Selena. Well, it's great to see you. Yeah, no, it's really incredible. I'm still pinching myself a little bit.
So, what can we expect from your new show, The Readout?
Well, so the history I have is, I have a bit of a hold them accountable spirit, so we're going to be based in Washington. We're going to be the first Washington-based show on the schedule, 5 nights a week. And so I feel like we're going to have a unique opportunity to really hold DC and the leaders in this country accountable for the demands that we're really seeing in the streets right now, right? That is translating very quickly into demands for actual change, for a redistribution of power in this country. And we're going to have an opportunity to have those conversations. That can be some tough conversations with the people who are leading this country, with newsmakers, and really also with activists and people who are actually doing the work.
So how does that differentiate between from Chris Matthews' show Hardball, which was on during the 7 o'clock slot on MSNBC before?
Yeah, well, Hardball was different in that sense that, number one, Chris is very different. Obviously, we come from very different backgrounds, and Chris comes from a point of view of having worked for a president, worked for a Speaker of the House. So a lot of what he was doing was talking about the ways in which politics can be made to compromise, the way that the two sides can be found to come together. I think that Chris had a lot of faith in politics. He and I both love politics. I might be just a little more cynical than Chris Matthews. I think that he believed in the process more because to be fair, the process worked a lot better when he was doing it for a living. When he was working for President Carter or for Tip O'Neill, there was a process that was a lot more symbiotic between the parties. It's very different now. This is a new generation. The demands are more urgent. The demands are coming from a more diverse base. It's not, that kind of a world now where, right, you can easily see compromise happening. Mitch McConnell is not Tip O'Neill. And so I think we've entered an era where we're really fighting authoritarianism in America in a way we haven't seen before, a sort of almost, South Africa in the 80s, attempt to lock the emerging majority out of power, out of voting rights, out of police reform. And, the emerging majority is fighting back. So I think I bring, maybe, kind of a little bit of a sense of that community's voice and bringing that to the table and bringing that into the conversation.
Now, I'm a longtime fan of MSNBC, and earlier in your career, I noticed that you used to have a different look. You would wear your hair straight and a short bob, but as of late, you've been wearing beautiful braids and more ethnic styles. Was that intentional?
Well, it's funny because the whole question, as you know, of being in media and hair is a whole big thing. And when I first started being just a contributor on MSNBC, I wasn't accustomed to having, heat put through my hair every day, my hair curled every day. And to be honest, when I first started, my hair was all falling out. My hair was completely falling out. It was damaged. People were putting so much heat. Sometimes I would see steam coming up, and it was just a non-familiarity with my kind of hair. And so then I started experimenting with wigs, ways to like protect my hair. Because if you're getting your hair done and you're on TV every day, it's very damaging. And so I said, you know what, let me do the wig thing. So I did like the cute little short wigs, and that worked for me for a while. But then I just started missing my hair. I'm like, you know what, I actually just want to be able to have my hair, have it out, have it worn just natural. Maybe put it in braids. And so I got my hair braided when I first went to South Africa in 2018. I went for my birthday. I always travel in braids. If I'm traveling, it's braids that I'm going with. So I had gotten it braided for that. And then when I got back, I was like, should I take my hair out to just do TV? And I just decided not to. I decided, you know what, my hair looks great like this. I was on the air like this from South Africa. So I was like, I'm just going to go ahead and rock it. And before the Crown Act passed, that could be risky for a Black woman to do. But now the Crown Act is passed in New York, and it's now anybody can do this. Any Black woman can choose to wear her hair however she wants to wear it, in the military, in media, and anything we want. It's made a change. So I have to say that in going natural, I had a lot of support too from other Black women in the business, Tamron Hall, as well as Jackie Reid, my friends who were both at the time, and at the time Tamara was still at NBC. They were very supportive of me pushing to not only wear my hair and do what I need to do with my hair, but also to bring more Black hairstylists into the business. So I've been very blessed that I was able to assemble a team in the hair and makeup room that diversified hair and makeup at MSNBC. We had we on AM Joy had the most diverse hair and makeup room in the entire company.
And for those who don't know, the Crown Act actually bans hair discrimination. But you mean it's telling that you showing up in braids is a bold step, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that that was a thing and you needed support in order to be your authentic self. And that leads me to my next question. Why is it so important for Black women, especially on television, to show up as their true authentic selves?
Well, I've had, young girls come up to me with their moms and say, it means a lot to me that you wear your hair in braids. I've had young producers say to me, it's everything that you're wearing your hair the way I wear my hair, because this is how we are in the real world. And if we have to change who we are just to be on television, then we're projecting an image that isn't real. And we're also not reflecting our audience. My audience at AM Joy is about 24, 25% African American. And this is an audience that is coming to hear authenticity. And if they can also see authenticity and see themselves reflected back in the TV, I think that empowers Black women. It empowered me when I saw Gwen Ifill as a kid. So I know that it is empowering for other people, for people to be able to see that I can wear my hair anyway. If I want to wear it in an afro, I've done that on the air. I've done it in prime time. I'm not afraid. I wear my hair however it's coming out that day, however I'm feeling it. And I think it's very liberating and it's important.
Oh, it is, even for people like me who've admired you for years on end. But I do want to switch gears a little bit because last year you published the book, The Man Who Sold America, Trump and the Unraveling of the American Story. What are your feelings now on the 2020 election? And do you think Trump will be reelected?
So I have a paperback of that. That paperback for The Man Who Sold America is actually coming out next month. So just throwing that out there if people want to hear, because I actually updated it to include impeachment and COVID, because it just, I thought when I ended, I was like, "Ooh, this is bad," and then it got worse, So I think that there's a very good chance. I tend to be very cynical about elections because I worked the 2004 election when I left media, and I was very sure that we were going to beat George W. Bush, and we didn't. So, politics is unpredictable. It's one of the reasons I find it fascinating. It is very unpredictable, and the forces against our vote, even though it is an emerging majority vote, are going to be epic. We've got Russian interference that attacks Black voters with misinformation and try to make us stay home. You've got local sort of Republican interference and voter suppression, which is going to be probably the worst we've seen since the 1950s going into November. Poll watchers, people trying to challenge your vote if you vote absentee. It's going to be historically bad. And then you've got this other kind of interference, the Kanye Wests who say, "I'm going to run for president," which scrambles the matrix, even though he never even filed. But it then puts in people's mind, maybe I'll put Kanye West down and write him in. Every person who writes him in is a vote that's not going to Joe Biden. So there's all of these ways in which a lot of people are interfering with our votes, whether intentionally, very intentionally, or just because they've just said something outlandish. And also mail-in is not a way that African Americans can particularly vote. We traditionally vote in person, but in person is now deadly because of a pandemic that's hitting us disproportionately. So there are so many factors weighing against our votes. But what I will say is, I do believe polls are generally accurate. They were accurate actually in 2016. It's just that the 3 states had a little 70,000 vote margin that moved it the other way in the Electoral College. The polls show that Donald Trump is going to lose, that and the reporting says that he knows he's losing right now. And the way to ensure that is to have a historically large turnout. If there's a historically large turnout and the polls are accurate, he will lose. So if people want that presidency to change, you've got to vote. And you've got to vote in huge numbers. Your community needs to vote. Your mama needs to vote. Your kids need to vote. Everybody needs to vote. And if it's a big margin, Trump can lose.
Absolutely. And, you've been covering social justice, Black Lives Matter since its inception, if we will. You actually started with the Trayvon Martin case in 2012. I wanted to get your thoughts on how do you feel that we're still covering, still marching to save Black lives when it comes to the killing of Black and brown men and women by the hands of police or white vigilantes?
Well, it hasn't changed, in hundreds and hundreds of years, right? There's the Yusuf Hawkins case, which is just about to be made into an HBO documentary. Yusuf Hawkins was killed in 1989. Remember, another summer. That's because the summer of '89 was like a killing field in New York for Black people being targeted because of their race. You can go all the way back. You can go to Trayvon, Eric Garner. You can go on and on and on. Tamir Rice. This has been happening not just in the current era, but for hundreds of years. Emmett Till, 1955, just go back and back and back. I think the difference is now, for the first time, there's an actual majority, a polling majority of even white Americans that say that Black Lives Matter is important and that they support Black Lives Matter. So a majority of people, for the first time, support Black Lives Matter. When I was covering the Trayvon case and Tamir Rice, his baby is killed, there was still not a majority of support for Black Lives Matter. There was still not a majority, let alone anybody saying defund the police. But now we're at the point where people are not afraid to say police need less money, less of our budgets, that they need to have they need to have their entire system scrapped and changed and rebuilt from the ground up. So to me, George Floyd really did change the world, because we're finally seeing the empathy that Black people have been demanding for hundreds of years when we are killed by police finally come our way.
And lastly, Joy, in wake of this new position, this new gig you have, 7 p.m., what impact do you hope to make on not only MSNBC as a network, but the brand's identity?
Well, one of the things, that I've always been told, my mentor, James, he always said, you have to push as you pull, or pull as you push, meaning that, I've managed to push my way through the door. And so it's going to be very important that I'm also pulling people in with me as I come through. So one of the things that I want to definitely impact is the way that the guest structure looks. When you look at MSNBC, we already have a lot of really great hosts. Chris Hayes is very diligent about this. Rachel Maddow is diligent about it. Lawrence O'Donnell is diligent about it. Brian Williams is that, we try to all bring in diverse guests. Nicole Wallace is wonderful about this too, including bringing me in. Chris Matthews was always great about this, but I can step that even one level higher, right? I need to keep finding and keep looking for diverse voices, the authentic activists, new journalists. Like we're out there looking for all of the smartest, new, diverse voices in this country, and we're going to find them and we're going to amplify them and make sure that they too have a place in primetime.
Oh, that's amazing, Joy. And, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the work that you're doing and the mission that you have. Like, you're going into this gig with a purpose. And that says so much to you, about you, actually. So thank you. I know I know you don't have any more time, so we'll just end it here. But
thank you, Selena. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.